Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Yorkshire on a beautiful sunny day. We're going to be doing a bit of an explore with the camera today, and we've got three really exciting venues for you. We're going to hit up York, we're going to hit up Whitby, and we're going to hit up Robin Hood's Bay. There's a lot to see. I'm going to jump in the car now and head off. I've got my camera, I've got you guys. Let's go. In just one day, I'm heading across some of Yorkshire's most photogenic locations. From the medieval streets of York to the dramatic cliffs of Whitby Abbey and winding seaside charm of Robin Hood's Bay. First stop, York. One of the most historic cities in England, York somehow manages to feel both busy and timeless all at once. Roman roots, Viking history and medieval streets. It's the kind of place where every corner seems to hand you another photograph. Let's be honest, for photographers, York is almost overwhelming in the best possible way. The layers of history, the narrow alleyways, the mix of shadows and lights, there's inspiration absolutely everywhere. The Shambles is probably York's most famous street, and honestly, it's almost like walking through a film set. Every angle has texture and character. But what makes this place really interesting photographically isn't just the architecture, it's the people. Moments like this are why I think photographers need to get comfortable approaching strangers, because this photo doesn't just happen if you stay quiet. A lot of people want powerful portraits, but they're too nervous to start conversations, and honestly, I completely understand that. Walking up to someone with a camera can feel awkward at first, but most of the time people are far more open than you expect. Especially characters like this, people who clearly enjoy expression, storytelling and performance. They often love being photographed. And once you push past that fear, you unlock an entirely different level of photography. For me, that's where the real emotion of a place comes from. Architecture gives you atmosphere, light gives you mood, but people give a photograph its soul. Of course, no trip to the Shambles would be complete without showing you my favourite resident of the street. Here he is. This guy looks like he's had a really long day, but we're still happy to pose for a photograph or two. You'll always hear people tell you that photography is about timing. And speaking of timing, photography really does have a sense of humour sometimes. Because after wandering through York's medieval streets, meeting incredible characters, and building up to one of the most iconic landmarks, I finally arrived at York Minster, only to discover the most famous window was completely covered in scaffolding. Honestly, you could not write it. This is the reality though of travel photography. You can plan your locations, check the weather, scout compositions, but sometimes you arrive and the universe just says, not today. And weirdly, I kind of love that. Even without its famous window, York Minster still completely dominates the skyline. The scale is unbelievable, every angle feels dramatic, from towering stonework to detailed carvings and stained glass. It's the kind of place that makes you instinctively slow down and just take a look. What I love about this image is the sheer scale of it. The symmetry, the repeating arches, the way your eye gets pulled straight down the centre of the cathedral, it almost feels endless. It gives this whole space calm, almost reverent atmosphere, and that's of course exactly what the cathedral's about. What I decided to do though, faced with such scale, was to really try and focus in on some of the detail. I never want to go to a place and shoot the photos that everyone else has taken, and in a place like this, that can be a real challenge. With that in mind, it's funny how easy it would be to walk straight past something like this. In a place as huge and dramatic as York Minster, you're naturally drawn to the stained glass and the architecture, but sometimes the most powerful photographs are the quiet ones. Just a single candle, softly lighting the darkness around it. There's something incredibly human about that. People have been stood beside candles like this for centuries, moments of reflection and hope and grief and prayer and remembrance, all represented by something so small and so simple. And as photographers, I think learning to notice these details is important, because photography isn't always about that grand scene. Sometimes it's about slowing down enough to notice the small moments that other people rush past and sharing them with the world. Everywhere you look here, the detail is just breathtaking. There's something almost hypnotic about the detail inside York Minster. Tiny fragments of stained glass glowing against centuries-old stone, quietly surviving wars, weather and time itself. It's easy to walk past details like this when you're overwhelmed by the scale of the cathedral, but sometimes the smallest part tells the biggest part of the story. There we go guys, that is York done. It's a beautiful city, well worth checking out. I'm just going to jump in the car now and head over to Robin Hood Bay. There's some great scenery there, so hey, let's get on the road. Robin Hood's Bay is one of those places that instantly captures your imagination. Tiny winding streets tumble down the hillside towards the sea, twisting between old cottages, hidden alleyways and weathered stone walls that feel unchanged by time. Every corner, every doorway feels like it has a story behind it. One minute you're photographing sweeping coastal views, the next you're squeezing down narrow lanes, chasing lights splitting between the buildings. There's just a beautiful contrast here between chaos and calm. The streets feel almost maze-like and unpredictable, but the landscape beyond opens up into a huge dramatic coastline shaped by the North Sea. This was one of those scenes where I wasn't just photographing a location, I was trying to capture a feeling. The winding cobbled paths and the old stone cottages, the plants creeping across the walls, it all feels incredibly lived in and timeless. Looking at places like this, you can't help but imagine what it must actually be like to call somewhere like Robin Hood's Bay home. And then, right on cue, the Yorkshire weather arrived. One minute I'm wandering around feeling like some dramatic travel photographer chasing atmosphere, the next I'm checking out how waterproof my camera bag actually is. And after climbing these steep little streets all day, it felt like the perfect excuse to do the most British thing possible. Find a pub, order a pint, and wait for the weather to blow over. By the time I took this photo, I was absolutely soaked, slowly trudging uphill questioning every life decision that led me here. But then I looked up, and even in the rain, Robin Hood's Bay still had all this warmth and colour to it. The orange rooftop, the textured stone buildings, the dramatic skies rolling overhead. It somehow still felt vibrant, even though the weather was trying to ruin the day. This isn't really the classic postcard shot you usually get here, but honestly, I think that's why I like it. Sometimes photography isn't about perfect conditions. Sometimes it's finding something that's interesting to you and making the most of it. There we have it. What a wonderful little place. And as if by magic, of course, the sun's back out. So without further ado, let's get over to our last destination. It's time for Whitby. And honestly, Whitby is one of those places that could easily be an entire vlog on its own. You've got the harbour, the fishing history, the narrow streets, seafood, that gothic atmosphere, then the Dracula connection. Everywhere you turn there's another story waiting to be photographed. But for this trip there's only one place I really wanted to focus on, Whitby Abbey. Sitting high above the town, looking out over the coastline, it's one of the most dramatic locations anywhere in Yorkshire. Even from a distance it completely dominates the landscape, and as a photographer it's impossible not to be drawn to it. There's just something about old ruins against dark skies and crashing sea air that instantly feels cinematic. It's moody, it's atmospheric, and it's slightly eerie. Whitby Abbey is just one of those locations that gives you so much to work with. The framing here is brilliant. Rather than just photographing the Abbey head on, I use the archway to pull your eye through the image, almost like you're discovering the ruins for yourself. And places like Whitby Abbey are perfect for that. The grandeur of Whitby Abbey is just one of those places that feels right shooting in black and white. I was tempted to shoot it in colour, but when I look at this photo now, I'm so glad I chose not to. Walking through these ancient ruins, it's hard not to feel completely dwarfed by the history around you. Every broken archway and every weathered stone feels like it has a story attached to it. And as a photographer, places like this are just endlessly inspiring. What I love about this photo is the layering. It's got frames within frames within frames, every stone arch pulling you deeper into the photo. It's just one of those scenes where you almost don't know where to look first, and honestly, half the fun of photographing this place is just like this. What I really enjoy about this as a location is exploring the changing angles inside the Abbey. Every few steps the whole scene transforms. New archways appear, light hits the stone differently. Honestly, this is the kind of place where you could spend hours photographing details and never run out of compositions. And there we go. That is a wrap. Thanks for joining me today, guys, on my whirlwind one day rushing around Yorkshire. Mixed bag when it comes to the weather, but hey, that's Yorkshire for you. I hope you liked the shots. Let me know what you thought in the comments. And until next time, keep taking those photos and I'll see you again.